This is episode 5 of the Eagle Experience. We're here today with Spenser Gruenenfelder, so let's get straight into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey, I'm Spenser Gruenenfelder. I'm the oldest of 3 boys, Spencer, Pierce, and Logan. Pierce is 2 years younger than me. Logan's 4 years younger than him. So as the oldest, I've been around Chestatee a bit longer. Like my tenure spanned another 6 years at the Chestatee Middle School at the time. I was here from 2003 to 2005. So I was 19 years ago. Since then, I lived in Atlanta. I went to school at Cornell in New York. I moved to Orlando. I moved to Boston, and now I'm back in Atlanta. Professionally, I'm a designer, landscape architect, and BIM building information modeling manager, which just means big construction projects, I manage like all of the information that goes into the walls, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of data associated with that. So I manage all that in 3D. So I've been building towards that over a 10-year career. So that's my newest job that I'm involved with, that I've kind of been gearing my career towards. And personally, I'm a father of 2 now. I've got a 2.5-year-old Evelyn and a 7-month-old Ellie. And I love playing sports. Still get out and as active as I can be. Once you get into the working world, you really have to make time for those things, but those are priorities for me. So golf, baseball, basketball, football. So yeah, it's been fun.
And yeah, so those are things you stuck with. So tell us a little bit about how you did sports here at Chestatee.
Yeah, so at Chestatee Middle School, I really didn't start any of the sports until 7th grade or later. In 6th grade, I was still tied to my elementary school basketball team. They had a 6th grade team. Football, same thing. I was with West Hall Junior football through 7th grade, or through the start of 7th grade. And baseball as well. I was with but Gainesville City baseball teams that were organized outside of the schools, and I played for the Yankees and the Phillies. And that's just kind of what they named all those teams, to be all professional, make us pretend that we're Babe Ruth. So then I finally, 7th and 8th grade, got more active in sports at Chestatee Middle School. Basketball, I actually didn't make the 7th grade basketball team. So that was one setback I really remember. But always loved the sport. So I went back and played for McEver, and then came back in 8th grade and made the team. And no hard feelings for that time, but it was a setback that I really, it was, looking back, of course, it's nice to see how you can grow from that. But yeah, and I can agree, I wasn't ready. So it was nice to go back to my other team and develop some of the skills that they were looking for.
For sure. So let's get into some action. Tell us about your most memorable experiences here at Chestatee.
Most memorable. Not at Chestatee specifically, but there was a lot of road construction. And since I live my parents still live there on Brownsbridge Road. So Brownsbridge Peninsula, although it's only 5 minutes by boat, it even today takes 17 minutes to get to school, which seemed like a really long way to go. Road construction through all of middle school. So Dawsonville Highway is this nice big highway now. It was not like that in 2003. So waiting 40 minutes to get to school and back every single day was quite the commute, which you then get used to if you start to have a job like that. But we had a lot of fun on those car rides. We would carpool among all of the McEver kids with various parents over the course of the week to get to school. So those car rides are really memorable, and we got into a lot of antics in the backseat, and that was fun. Field days at the end of my favorite part of school was the last week of school.
Yeah.
But field days were really fun. We didn't always have the entire school come together, except for assemblies in the basketball court or field day. And so that was always really fun, because you're always pretty insular with your classes. Like, you're always with just those teachers and the students you might be with. So it was cool to see all of my friends from friend groups that weren't necessarily in my classes, and I always cherished those. 7th grade, we were the 3 amigos, which I don't even keep up with them anymore, but Derek Cantrell, Jonathan Kane, and I were the 3 amigos. and we would hold court in the bathroom and just plan like our next time we're going to see each other, but made it almost like a club. But it was literally just excuses for the three of us to get to see each other outside of class. And that lasted for a few months. But I haven't kept up with them, but it's really just tight memories like that I remember that are like interpersonal. The stuff I made, like the friends I made, is really what I remember from the experience.
Yeah, so talking about that, you still have a connection to Chestatee with your mom. So tell us about those relationships that have still lasted to today.
Yeah, so my mom's still teaching. Like I had mentioned, my brothers. So I stuck around the middle school for 8 years after, and then I feel like a lot of them have retired at this point. But Coach Chesser, Miss Richards, now Miss Hudgens, Miss Kell, who was the head of the Library and Media Center up till not too long ago. So I always liked my experience at Chestatee, and it's always great to come back. With tie with my mom, she always gives stories about Miss Chandler, Miss Richardson, or other teachers, and just keeps us in the loop, which is really nice because it's always good to tie yourself back to your roots, especially since I moved around so much so far. It's always nice to just kind of stay grounded to, where your formative years are from and what that was like.
Now, as you've said, you were here way back in 2003. So tell us, how was Chestatee different back then?
Well, I'd mentioned road work. Other than that, the library, it wasn't a media center anymore, or the commons. It was very much books. Everything got a lot more digital since then. What else would have been different then? We did have block scheduling. So instead, I think everyone has periods now. I think it's 7 periods over the course of the day. And you have the same class from fall to spring the whole year. We had block scheduling. And so that was 1.5 hour classes with your extracurricular activities as the only carryover semester to semester. So in one sense, it was great because you could have a different class the next semester if you just were kind of tired of it over the first. But it did make 1.5 hours long per class to keep our attention, which as middle schoolers is hard to do to begin with. So extending those periods didn't help. But band carried over across all of that, which was always fun.
Now, I know something that definitely changed is probably you. So we got a little surprise here. We got some yearbooks.
Oh, no.
So let's take a look at 2003 to 4 Spenser. So let's see right here. That's you in the blue and white sweater.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is me, Brandon Jovog, and Matt Keel. All McEver kids that came over. Yep.
And then this is, I don't know what year this is. Here's band photos. You can probably find yourself in there.
Yeah, it's black and white. I think we had color then, but oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, look.
I haven't changed that much. I still kind of look like the same person.
Basketball team Spenser. And then here
exactly 8th grade, yeah. So finally made the team. That was a big accomplishment.
And then the infamous school photo of.
And I still have that T-shirt. That is Fitz's root beer from St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow.
So I liked the colors, and it's still survived.
Yeah. So tell us about, how you think Chestatee how was it a family back then?
Oh, it was very much a family, especially as a new school, because we were 4 years in. Not everything, like sports don't have to rally communities, but especially in North Georgia, they absolutely do. And so going into middle school, into high school, like our sports teams are starting to be competitive within the county and within the state. And so that was great just to see. We finally made our first playoffs in basketball and football, and I was young for those first teams, but involved in that. And so it was just great seeing everyone rallying around that. And then we had Relay for Life. I have a lot of memories of. We would always do Relay for Life around the track at different schools. And just there's always a big community atmosphere, and you'll always, especially like you'll always see people from the school when you're out and about, which was always great. And especially as a new school, as everyone was finding their footing, especially the adults and the teachers. Like we didn't feel that as much at school, but looking back, it was clear like they really did help shape the school into what it is now and guide us through that. So yeah, very grateful.
Yeah, now if you look, I think it's on one of the other bookmarks in one of those. There's a photo of you. It's either in that one or this one.
All right, I'll check each.
But there's a photo of you doing something telescope thing and
This one?
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So this picture, I actually have framed in my house right now.
Wow.
Or my apartment. Yeah, that's Mrs. Green. We were testing survey equipment right out at the front at the roadway. I absolutely do not remember it all. I framed it 4 years ago, and my mom showed me the picture from the yearbook, and she framed it all up. Did not remember a single thing. But now that I'm in landscape architecture and construction, like that is a direct line, easy,
Right.
early memory of like something that I had experienced in school that is applicable to my job now.
Right.
So yeah.
Let's talk about that. How did Chestatee prepare you, and what were you thinking? Were you thinking, I want to go do this?
I had a lot of interests in middle school, like with a lot of students that, want to have really cool jobs, doctor, lawyer, architect. It could have gone any direction, but I did really lean into the architecture thing. I had interests in Legos. I built entire Lego cities that took over our entire sunroom growing up, all the way up till college. I mean, I was still building Lego cities into college. Maps, I was obsessed with maps and new cities and walking around. So I basically took all those interests, and then when it was time to go to college or choose my classes and other electives and experiences through high school to help support those passions of mine. And so, yeah, so from an early age, I always just told myself, like, just dive into whatever your passions are and see where that leads you. Chestatee specifically, the curriculum, I don't really remember. I mean, I was a good student. I did what I was told. But the teachers themselves were really supportive and really found ways to like let our interest shine, like with even that image with Miss Green and the surveying equipment. So I think it was the support I had more than the curriculum itself that really helped.
So tell us, how did the road really go from college to where you are now?
Yeah, so college at Cornell in New York, I got degrees in urban planning and landscape architecture. Met a lot of really good friends, really opened my eyes. I also, the biggest thing that I learned in college was enthusiasm for like the things I'm pursuing. And then I'll answer your question. But in middle school, at least when we were growing up, and I don't think it's changed that much from stories from my mom, like we had this nonchalant attitude about everything and that we were just too cool for school, or like if to show any level of enthusiasm for anything was a sign of weakness, which it carried over till I was 17 years old. And I was involved in things, and I was involved in FCA and like was actively in front of people and had a lot of fun with my friends. But when it came to our true interests, we really like feigned interest. Feigned, SAT word, FEIGN. But you still take the SATs?
No.
Yeah. See,
We do milestones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so what I learned from college was like all of the other students in my year were all very interested in the majors that we had chosen. And so that enthusiasm rubbed off and really helped me get excited about the planning and landscape architecture and everything that I ended up learning. And just throughout life, I had a lot rosier outlook about like what I could do and where I could go with that. So from that, I graduated 2013 from college, went to Disney Horticulture in Orlando. So worked with them for a summer as part of a professional internship, went back to school for one more semester to get one more degree to then realize that I really like civil engineering too. But then my dad said, I paid for enough of your college. You should probably get a real job. He more gave me a look, and I put those words into his mouth, but it was obvious, like, 5 years of college is time to just see where that takes you. So I went back to Orlando. No prospect of a job necessarily, but the Disney people had given me a list of all the companies that work for them. And so I just showed up, stayed at a Ramada Inn for 3 days and interviewed around to see what was available. So I didn't have a plan post college, and it's okay to not always have a plan. I just went somewhere I knew I wanted to be, and found a niche, found something that worked for me, and then worked for that company. And I've worked for them for 9 years, consulting to Disney, designing theme parks and things.
Now, let's go a little bit more into depth what you do with your career. So tell us a little bit about your projects that you've been working on and what you've done in the past.
Yeah, so like I'd mentioned, I'm a landscape architect and designer. And so a lot of what I do is outside of the building. So landscape architects. So architects handle construction of buildings. Landscape architects handle the landscaping, but also the pathways and the grading and drainage and everything around buildings. And so for the theme parks, that includes all of the queues, all of the props and interactions there, all the theme lighting in the area, and coordinating with all the different disciplines that are specialties, that have specialties in all of that. And so I really like that side of the job, is coordinating with all these people that have all this expertise I don't necessarily know. But by being in landscape architecture, and as Disney and the theme parks call it, area development, I get to interact with all of those and build and coordinate all of that. And so a few of the projects that I've worked with over the past 9 years, starting from the beginning of my career when I joined that firm, when I went on that random trip to Orlando just to pursue my dreams, like the Hollywood moment, was the hub in front of the Magic Kingdom Castle. So that was the very first job I touched with my new job, and that really skyrocketed into bigger projects for us and for me. So that was a really good start, and that was it was a small part, but right in the middle of the epicenter of the themed experience universe. So that one was really fun. I went from that to Universal Beijing. I didn't go to Beijing, but I designed their theme park, which opened not too long ago from now in 2025. So it would have opened maybe 2018. And for that project, they have a Hollywood land, they have Jurassic World, they have a Transformers land from like the Hasbro Transformers franchise, and like a giant roller coaster for that. And that was really fun to get involved with. Took all of those experiences back to my firm in Orlando to work on Toy Story Land. Was at the same time as that, so that was a lot of work. But Toy Story Land was really fun. Very involved in that with all those disciplines I had just referenced, and coordinating all of that, and the ride queues, and just the oversized shrubs and the giant footprint in the pavement as you're walking through, as you can see the size of Andy's shoe since you were shrunk down to a toy. So it was fun to experiment with all these different things that you could design in the real world, but people would be a little confused about like a giant Paul Bunyan on the side of the road. But like when you're experiencing like Toy Story Land being in a toy, it was just really fun to play with all that. Skull Island Reign of Kong is a simulator ride from the Kong movies with Jack Black from early 2000s. They built a whole ride around that. A lot of resort pools. The Wilderness Lodge had an expansion of their cabins, so this is all set in like Yellowstone in the Pacific Northwest. And the resort already existed, but we built these like specialty cabins along the lakefront. That was really fun, and it was fun to build like the Pacific Northwest in Orlando. So got to learn a lot about different plant materials and what getting things to grow in a snowy place in Florida is not easy. So that was fun experimentation. And a couple more. Oh, and most recently, at least that's been opened, is the Tron roller coaster at Magic Kingdom. So we did everything outside of the ride. So as you're like zipping by on your light cycles, that you can like wave to my paving and planting designs and swoopy walls that I designed at the ride entrance. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you lived in Boston at one point. So how was it commuting from there to Orlando for work?
Yeah. So 2019, I moved to Boston before the pandemic, before it was cool to work remotely or go to school remotely. And so I interviewed around up there, but stuck with my firm. I really like the work we do. So every 2 months, I would fly down to Orlando. So it was a long commute, but it was a direct flight. And then I'd go and like oversee some construction jobs or just be in the office to actually meet with people, because I really like meeting with people. And the one thing about remote work is you're just kind of, and we all know from the pandemic, but you really are in your very small little box for extended periods of time in school. So yeah, it was a long commute, but it was really fun. And Boston was a great city. And since then I've moved back home to Atlanta and still working remotely, kind of worked that out, found that my specific roles within the company, found like my niche, my interest, the things that they also support me in. And then that helped me become a bit more flexible in how I approached where I live and what my work life looks like.
Now, we're going to do our little fast-paced, rapid-fire questions. So this is Talent Talk. Question number 1, did you get in trouble a lot as a kid?
Elementary school, yes, I acted out within the limits, but I definitely liked to test the adults' limits around me. And I have brothers. That's probably what caused it.
Yeah. What was the weirdest weirdest trend your generation had back then?
Well, I mentioned just the nonchalant attitude, but actually, it's not weird, and I'm a rambling man, so I don't know how quick these can be. But I will
you
say,
can make them slow if you
but
want.
I'll slow it down. Trends that I've seen resurface are closed-toed Birkenstocks, slides with socks. For girls, like low-rise jeans are cool again. Mm-hmm. So it's been like 18 years. They're not weird. Maybe they are weird. 10 years from now, people will think that was weird, but I've been out of school enough. All those like clothing trends are resurfacing. So they're the clothing trends. If only Crocs were invented when I was in middle school, I would have worn that every day.
Was there a teacher you acted normal around, but you were really scared of?
It was all, you know what it was? It was all the teachers that I did not have directly. Anyone that I like worked one-on-one with, that was definitely the case. But Coach Hatch, Coach Chesser till I had him, Miss Richardson. So it's all the ones that I didn't actually interact with, that whether through the rumor mill or just generally, like I was afraid of all the adults that weren't directly related to my schooling.
What was your dream job as a kid?
Well, I've been trying to pursue it. So Walt Disney, the man himself. So I was also interested in filmmaking in middle school. So filmmaker, developer. I'm more on the construction side now, but yeah, I'll be the next Walt Disney was always my plan.
What was your favorite field trip you ever went on?
We had a lot of really good band ones and chorus ones, and the honor society ones. Cumberland Island and Savannah. Yeah. We went down there. Any of the trips where we could really get away and just be a bunch of crazy middle schoolers, I was a fan of.
Yeah, we just got back from DC a few weeks ago.
Yeah. We had a DC trip when I was here too. Yeah.
If you could do a reunion of students you went to school with, what would you be? The organizer, the storyteller, the DJ?
People would fall asleep to my storytelling. Hopefully they don't to this podcast. I'd be the organizer, though. I can get people together.
What was your favorite teacher back then and why?
Middle school, the ones that stick with me the most are not the subjects I was most interested in, is literature and history, but Miss Clemens and Mr. Bennett, Chuck Bennett, they're the ones that stuck with me. And he was with middle school before he was high school too. Also retired.
Yeah, happens. What was the most popular hangout spot for you and your friends?
Well, I mentioned the bathroom, but around here, the library, we kind of just, I think it was just a common space now it is the commons, so people probably actually use it for that, but we could always, somewhere you could talk loudly and just hang out away from the rest of the school.
What's something you wish you could go back and tell your younger self?
I'd say just keep being yourself. Now looking back, I've made it this far, just paving my own path, being myself. So just keep being you. You don't have to change yourself for other people. Just stay as equally as enthusiastic and interested in everything, and just be as wacky and interested as you can, because that lasts.
Now, a good one to wrap today's episode up on. If you had to describe your middle school experience in one word, what would it be?
Formative. Boring. Zany. I mean, yeah. Use that energy. While you have the energy as a middle schooler, use it.
Good advice. And that's going to be the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed, be sure to share and subscribe. I'm Zach Roach, and this is Spenser Gruenenfelder. So until next time, thanks for joining us for another Eagle Experience.